I was looking at films on Letterboxd and came across Harold Shipman, Dr. Death, the 2002 film directed by Roger Bamford and written by Michael Eaton. And immediately I knew I wanted to watch this, but I also knew it would be quite an emotional experience. I have a very keen interest in true crime, like a lot of people, and I have a very high tolerance for a lot of cases. It takes a lot to really disturb me. I think that's quite a common experience. The more true crime you consume, the higher your tolerance is for it. But with Harold Shipman, it is such a disturbing case that it always emotionally affects me, and I was really keen to see what this film would be like. And I'm pleased to say, for the right reasons, it's quite strong and powerful, but it's definitely, understandably, not the easiest watch. We have James Bolam as Harold Shipman, and his performance is absolutely incredible, chilling, brilliant, horrendous to look at because it feels like the case is really being brought to life, and it basically details the crime that I'll talk about in a moment. And the film, initially when I read the description, it said that it was about the life and career of Shipman. And I thought, okay, are we going back to the beginning? Are we going to look at his childhood? I wasn't that interested in that. But it doesn't. It focuses on Shipman's professional career around the time that people were beginning to raise eyebrows. And the reason people were raising eyebrows is because a lot of patients in his care were dying. Older individuals, elderly patients. And as somebody remarked in the film, they were seeming to do quite a high number of cremations, much more than usual. And as people started to look into this, they realised that most, if not all, of these deaths were patients who had been treated by Shipman. And I won't spoil how things unfold in the film. I can't say exactly how accurate it is. I've read quite a lot about Shipman. I've seen several documentaries and things, but I'm by no means an expert. But it certainly delivered the story as I expected it to. There was nothing in this that felt jarring or unfamiliar. But again, I can't say exactly how accurate the timeline is or any of the characters in this other than Shipman, but it certainly delivered what I expected. And what we learn is that it's not just a small handful of patients. And I will say at the end of this discussion, just in case you don't want to know just now, but I will say at the end just how many people were affected by this. I feel like it took the right approach in focusing from around the time there started to be some suspicion. It was really fascinating to see things unfold. Again, I don't know how fully accurate it is, but it felt very believable within the context of the film as people started to investigate this, and then Shipman's response. Interestingly for me, I haven't seen, and I don't know how much is out there, but I haven't seen a lot of footage of Shipman. I've seen a lot of stills, a lot of images, but I haven't seen a lot of video footage. I don't know if there's a lot out there, and to be honest, I don't really want to change that. I don't really want to look at him. And in ways, because James Bolam gave this fantastic performance and I felt like I was watching Shipman, it just meant it was a really difficult experience because of how effective that performance was. So if, like me, you don't really want to look at Shipman any longer than you have to, it's not going to be the easiest watch, but that is completely in praise of the quality of the film, the casting, the performances. It is very effective. It is very emotional. It is very, very emotional because just to think what this utterly horrendous person did, and I'm using language I can use on YouTube, I want to say other things, to end the lives of so many people, so many elderly people who have gone through whatever they've gone through in their life. Most people will go through hardships over the decades, and then to have their lives taken away that way, it's just, I don't have the stomach for that. As I said, I have a very high threshold for true crime. There's not a lot that I can't stomach. Again, like true crime fans, that's often the case. But with Shipman, I despise him. I despise him so much. And the performance here is so great that it just makes me feel so ill watching it. But because it's so well done and so powerful. And as I said, I think the focus was spot on. Going into it, as I said, based on a description, I can't remember, maybe Wikipedia or Letterboxd, it sounded like it was going to be much more of a backstory of Shipman. Wasn't really interested in that. So I think the focus for me was spot on. The performances were brilliant, and in general, if you're interested in this topic, it's worth watching. But by no means is it an easy watch, and it's definitely one of the most effective and therefore challenging films I've seen based on true crime before, and that's completely to the film's credit. And the technical aspects, the camera work, the lighting, the performances, everything about this was just really, really effective, and it's absolutely worth watching. I will now say, just for anybody who wants to know who maybe isn't aware, just how many people he murdered, because it's horrendous. It is believed that he murdered roughly 250 people over 30 years. And something that this film does very effectively, because he's interacting with other medical professionals and we really have that medical setting, it makes it so easy to feel that anxiety, that it's not just somebody who killed 250 people thereabouts, it was a medical professional. And I'm not saying I'm now scared to go to a doctor, but it certainly made me very anxious just thinking about it. And it's just absolutely disgusting. Anybody to kill that many people is horrendous, but somebody who's supposed to be somebody you can trust, abusing that power, abusing their access to medications, it's horrible. I absolutely hate him. Out of every person ever to existed in the history of the world, I'd say he's one of my top 10 most hated people. Not that I have a list of people I hate, but let's face it, there are a few people who deserve no second chances, who deserve no kindness, who deserve no compassion. There are very, very, very few people where I feel that's the case. And in my opinion, one of those people is Shipman. Absolutely detest him. And obviously it's a really interesting case insofar as how things unravelled towards the end and how people started to question things, and the film does a good job of, in my opinion, bringing a lot of that to light. There are also some documentaries that I recommend, one of which I reviewed. I can't remember the names of them, but there are some good ones out there. If you're interested in the case of Shipman, I'd say this film is as good a place to start as any. I would also recommend some documentaries and some supplemental reading. I hate it so much. I absolutely hate it. But the film itself is very, very well done. And if it sounds like a film for you, then needless to say, I absolutely recommend it.